Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the licensing subcommittee meeting. A little bit of housekeeping to attend to first. Can I give a warm welcome to those who are attending, and also to the viewers who are watching on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. Details of the business to be considered today is shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room, and it's also accessible online under the live broadcast. For those present in the room and intending to speak, please note that you'll be filmed and any statements you make will be recorded and made public. I don't believe that there's anyone in the room who is intending to speak, so that can eliminate that little statement. For those observing in the room today, you may wish to know that the camera is angled away from the public gallery where you are in fact sitting. At the end of the public part of the meeting, when the committee moves to discuss any confidential matters, the live broadcast on YouTube will be cut. A reminder once again for anyone speaking today, and that includes ourselves, that your voice will only be audible online if your microphone is switched on. We're not expecting any fire drills, so if the fire alarm goes off, please follow officers, although most of you are, to the fire exits and out of the building to the designated meeting points. As this meeting is going to be held in part one, recording, filming and reporting of these proceedings is permitted. As the meeting is in part one, it will be broadcast on YouTube. Mobile telephones. Can we all make sure that our mobile telephones have been switched off or put to silent? For those who are interested, there should be some forms on your seats, orange forms, for you to fill in to indicate how you found the meeting and how we performed. These are very useful, and I hope that you can all fill them in when we finish. Can I welcome the applicant?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can I also now introduce you as the applicant and members of our audience to the people who are sitting to the front. My name is Councillor David Yarrow, and I am chairing the meeting today. To my right are the subcommittee members, Councillor Janet Gardner and Councillor Brian Stead. My legal advisor, B.J. Sony, is sitting next to me, and to the further left is Luke Taylor, who is Democratic Services Officer, and he will be minuting the meeting and to a degree keeping me in order. If there were any responsible authorities here, they will be sitting at the tables over there, but I understand that we have none that have wished or have a desire to appear today. Are there any apologies for absence?
We've got apologies from Councillor Gillam and Councillor Allen, with Councillor Yarrow and Councillor Gardner substituting.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest in matters coming before the meeting? No, I didn't think there would be. Once again, I confirm that all the business today is in part one. Are there any matters that have been notified in advance or urgent? None, thank you. Well, that leads us straight into item 6, which is the premises licence in respect of the Village Cafe, High Point Village in Hayes. And I forgot to introduce you, Ian. There's always one sitting on the end. Ian Means, who is the licensing officer. Ian, can you take us through the start?
Yes. Thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. Please let me begin with some minor additions contained in your addendum, and just explain out those addendum items. This addendum item came about from an email which we received on the 24th of August, which basically was a slight adaptation of the original application. Firstly, it was to produce a plan of the area immediately outside the cafe, and this was a copy of part of the applicant's lease, showing an area the applicant, Mr. Savat, has available for use in outside seating. And just to explain that for the councillors, you might want to address that later on when you consider in and out, on sales and off sales. The second part of that addendum is regarding making a minor adjustment to the original times. Those requested in the original application. Those times are at the moment somewhat. The new adjustments are somewhat need investigation as they're not exactly clear. It would appear that there's been a reduction in alcohol hours and of the opening hours, and if those times were made in those opening hours, it would negate the need for late night refreshment to be licensed at all, because that only comes in at 2300. So the committee should bear that in mind. Generally then, this is a hearing to consider an application for a new premises licence, and the application has been made by the premises occupier, Mr. Savhat. A number of representations have been received in relation to the application. The premises is a ground floor lock-up shop consisting of 2 units in this relatively new build site. The applicant is one of the first business people to occupy one of the several ground floor units available, developed obviously by the developers and designed and incorporated into the site for business use. All these units sitting below private residential accommodation above. The applicant seeks to license the area of a shop which runs as a cafe and has operated for about 3 weeks a month. There is an outside area available for use. This has been indicated in the addendum. This outside area is part of a much larger central square built into the design of the development. The new application seeks to license a cafe, being a mainly food-led operation with the ability to sell alcohol and provide hot food and drink. Alcohol being seen as a secondary and complementary arrangement, but it's not regulated as such in the application, so things could change if a new operator came in. The building is currently presented and decorated as a cafe. When licensing a premises, the applicant will normally indicate in the application an area where licensing activities will be taking place. This licensed area is often different from the area where alcohol and food is eventually consumed. The application seeks to acquire a licence for the sale of alcohol and the provision of late night refreshment in the original application, both being able to be removed from the premises and consumed elsewhere. From the original application, the premises would appear to be the shop alone, but the addition of the requisite seating area outside, the committee may wish to take this into their considerations when designing and defining an area for the sale and consumption. It may be that you might decide to approve that area. There are currently 5 local resident representations. All representations come from persons who live in the blocks of flats above or opposite the cafe. That's pretty much a roundup of the application. Councillors, I would invite the committee to determine the application and whether to grant, refuse or amend as applied for. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Could I just check something? I only appear to have, unless I've missed one, 4 objections. Was the 5th on the telephone or not in writing?
There are 5 objections from 6 people, be it 2 being a married couple. So it depends how you count it. There's 5 from, and 1 being a married couple is basically 6 people making 5 objections.
And is that covered by the 4 pieces of paper that I've got?
First one, if you just check, we run through the report. We've got page 25, Mr. Khan.
Yeah.
That's page 26 as well. Page 27, Richard Smith.
Yep.
Page 29, Daniel Rea.
Yep.
Page 30, Ravinder Bhikkhu and his wife. presumably his wife or partner. And the last one, Sean Seeney, on page 31.
Ah, okay, I can see what's happened.
Okay.
I've got one printed on the back of another. There are 6 people involved in 5 sort of properties.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, it's over to the applicant, and I wonder if you could address the comments during your submission that the licensing officer has mentioned that we've got the amendments, but the amendments don't seem to tie up exactly with what you are actually asking for in the first place.
In the original application, we did ask, the late night, the application with the alcohol. However, I've been in the area more than 13 years, and I used to run the Hevalo Cafe in High Street, and that included, we did the services to local authority here with the sandwich. One of my principles is working with the residents and with the local people. And when Ian said, there is 5 objections, and mainly is people concerned after 11 o'clock that the noise. I took this one into consideration to working with the residents. I reduced it, to that one to sale to 10 o'clock, the last order for the food and alcohol. And our aim to close the shop at 11 o'clock with the, to do it the cleaning, everything, lock the shop and leave it area at 11 o'clock. Regarding the Hayes is very multicultural area, and there is only few sitting, and that you can have enjoy your meal with a glass of wine, and that's one of them is Aisha restaurant, and the other one is the bowling Chinese restaurant, and there is a McDonald's for the the sitting the places, but it is a lack of the place that people can sit enjoy with meal with a few alcohols. Regarding the noise, mainly the objection is on the assumption. It's basically across the canal there is a few youth people gathering, and that's it's youth the people problem rather than really relating to anything with the alcohol. And this youth, I mean, week ago, what I experienced, they are actually not a threat to anyone. And the elderly lady was with the wheelchair, and they offered to help her on the slope. The problem is the elderly lady is the fear of the youth people, because few of them there, they think they are dangerous, they are criminal, they are doing this one. I think how we going to break it our fear, that's the, will take the time with the people. But however, we are willing to, our aim, I would like to mention it, I used to be a chairperson for Hayes Business Forum, and one of our aim in Hayes that the rise nighttime business for the economy, because at the moment one of the concern in the Hayes, after 5 o'clock there isn't many places you can attend it. Regarding the crime, since we moved it, this few people which gathered in the square, they even not there anymore. Included the few families, they bringing their children to play in the square, because we sort of security for them, to basically watching them. The more the people in the places, I think the crime-wise, it will be less crime. The crime will happen in the dark and the quiet places, not where the front of the people, where the people is sitting it. In fact, we bring it with, the safety in the area, rather than, the concern about the safetyness. Noises, I think, we will put the sign to ask our customers leave the premises, to quietly without disturbing the people. Regarding the design of the High Point, it is a bit U-type, like a theater-wise, and I thought this is an asset. This big square, you want the people, to running. I think that was the designer mind. People, to having the coffee, having maybe a glass of the wine there, rather than, to be concerned rising the, the noises. And I think that, and also 5 objections, considering in the percentage, is very low. I think in there, if I'm not mistaken, about the 1,500 people, is 400 flats there. Average say, the wife, husband, 1 kid, is about the 1,500, and the 5 objection is a very minor, the things. And plus, the objection is not being proved is an assumption. In that grant, I will ask you to, to grant the application, let the people have a, kebab with a glass of wine or the pasta with a glass of wine.
Turn your microphone off now, please. Thank you. Well, I'm certainly pleased to hear, in a sense, that you've gone some way to meet the demands of the letters of complaint, not complaint, but of objection that were received. And it's interesting that you are going to close at 2300 now, and not midnight. These cases where you are opening, or you want a license for the first time, I'm afraid there never is any evidence. It is a lot in people's minds from past experience. And I think it doesn't really matter how many people object. One objection is enough to say we need to consider this, because no one knows what's going to happen. And I'm sure that when we go into deliberation, we'll be looking at what these people have said and where they are located. There is a shop next to you which is open. I'm not aware what it sells. Do you know what it deals in?
The shop is Tesco Express, I think, and probably sells alcohol and the rest of it, and vegetables and groceries.
Yeah. How long have you been operating there? A few weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Obviously not selling alcohol, just going through the normal cafe procedures. Have there been any instances which you could think of which might be chairs and tables being overturned or what have you? No. So there's nothing on which to base the complaints, except people's past experience and people's understanding. I wish that these objectors, and if they're watching on the internet, I wish that they had been here, because at least we could have had a debate and a cross debate with yourselves about what this is, and they would understand better what's going on. However, what you've said will help us come to a conclusion. I really don't have anything further to say on that issue. Yes, you can, Councillor Gardner.
Tesco's Express isn't next door to your premises.
It's not next to me, but it's close to the square, basically. They are in the
No, I have to say I'm one of the I'm one of the councillors for Botwell. Yeah. I know the area really well. Tesco's Express actually is right in the front. I think the retail outlet next to you is empty, isn't it?
There is no retail next to me, actually.
Well, it says here retail 6.
Number 6, isn't it?
That's me.
It's number 5 then.
I'm unit 5 and 6.
Okay, fair enough.
And unit 5 you use as a kitchen, and unit 6 where the the sitting area. So it's the unit 5 and 6 is finished perfect.
Okay, well I misled him there then, because I thought that was another a separate shop.
I was trying to work out what you were saying. No, I mean, my only concern, and it's, I do know the area really well because I represent lots of people in there. It is that square acts a bit like an echo chamber. When kids are shouting about, you can hear things echoing around. That's my probably one of my only concerns are people leaving if they're a bit boisterous, and I say the noise carries. And that, hence the problem that people have, that there is a problem of the other side of the canal, and contrary to what you said, there is a problem the other side of the canal, but that's not my ward anyway. But that's the only concern I have, and the balconies that are so near your shop, in terms of the noise.
Janet, I think the way it's been designed is that shape. The back
You
side.
put your microphone on so that they can get it.
Yeah, it's like the youth style, and the back side is where the hotels and the leisure center, and the both side is Cardinal building and Vantage. Now, it seems like a theater. If you speak, to one side, probably all the area will hear it. But when it's been designed, I think that's the main, the things we have to consider. Is that the asset, or is it, do you want the children to playing? Is it, will be, like in the square? They always will play. Doesn't matter is the, cafe or not. I thought this is the, the big square they've been designed it, that the people that they gather there. And I think the 25th of September, there is a carnival in the area, and I think that's the reason. Is that's what I'm saying is the asset of this High Point village, the way the design is being done, that people can anywhere, any direction, you can see it. What's happening in that square, people in gathering. I thought that is for me, if I buy it, that's why I buy it. I can see it. I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you don't want to sit in the back. You want to sit in front to watch outside. See the people is passing. I thought this is the good part of the High Point village. That everyone can see what's happening in that area. And regarding the noise, we are going to put the sign say to please to leave the area quietly. And we also the next door, which is is the security. That's where the management office is. And every 2 hours is next to my door. They have to touch it. Says the control being done. And also we are going to put the cameras there as well. To any the incidents or the things, we can the police welcome to watch it anytime. And so the local authority. So that's I think we will help the places rather than in the noises. I think I don't know, the way they've been designed always will be. I mean, you and me have a seat like that to have a chat. They, someone will say, people are downstairs doing talking, but that's always will be there. And this is the asset of the places. I mean, the meaning of the square. I thought that's what it means. The people gather and they meet and have a chat.
Thank you. Yes, I think it's fair to say that particular development was designed as a public square. It was designed a little bit almost like Paternoster Square in the centre of London. It was there for the public to use. The question is at what time can the public use it, and what can they do, right? And yes, there's going to be children running around and there's going to be noise, but that's one assumes is during the day. What we have to observe is how much noise is there going to be when people are asleep, right? And you've made a good point. You're going to put the notices up. You're going to have cameras and what have you. All that's part of your license. But it's very much a bit of suck it and see it in a way, depending upon what we decide and and how we decide to treat this. But there is no evidence at this moment in time. You've been open for 3 weeks and you've not had any problems. The fear, of course, is as soon as alcohol gets involved into the equation, that everybody changes. Well, you're the owner of the cafe. Should we decide to approve the license, then it becomes down to you to ensure that your business functions acceptably within the community. And that really is all I can say. I am aware that the properties were built with, I understand, and this is why I asked a member of our noise team to be present in case it needed any verification, that the windows in these flats are made out of special glass in order to eliminate the noise. Now, I don't know how true that is, but I have seen the planning applications for it, and it looks like a great deal of time and effort has been put in to ensure that as it's a square, that the residents will feel a minimum amount of noise coming through the glass. But that's not part of our deliberations in that sense. However, it might reflect upon any decision that is made as to how much noise is going to get through to the residents. Have you any questions? Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Sevhat, you say you've been open about 3 weeks now. What hours is that?
The latest we left the shop is 5 to 11.
That's the premises have closed at 5 to 11.
That we left the shop 5 to 11.
Okay, thank you. And also the outside spaces that you've mentioned, is that within the curtilage of your properties?
Sorry?
The outside spaces that you've...
It's part of the lease,
It's part of the lease?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Vijay, you've got a couple of legal questions, I think.
Mr. Hevalo, if you're closing at 10 o'clock, is your kitchen going to stop cooking food at 10 o'clock as well? Councillors, you will be aware that late night refreshment can only be licensed from 11 o'clock. So, Mr. Hevalo, I'm going to ask you to confirm based on your new timings, you are now withdrawing your application for late night refreshment. Now turning to the outside area. In licensing, we license the point at which a sale is made. So you've got tables outside. Are your patrons going to be ordering and paying when they're seated at the tables? Any plans in the future to offer a table service outside?
Yeah, sorry. The reason I sold I used to run Hevalo Cafe. We sold it in 2013. But because my customer asked me to say, look, you must come. There is not, too many places we go having the coffee and that. And we back to Hayes on our customer demand, if the customer, if they didn't want to, for certain product, you cannot sell it to them. You only to go to buy. Customer says, can you put, we put the fruit, salad bar on the demand. And one of the Indian lady, he came to me and said, what about the vegetarian? We have, many people vegetarian there. And we put, a few aubergine, the vegetarian dishes there. So you can just go to buy what the customer asks you and what you can, to implement it. Anything else, it will be bad business anyway.
I just need to advise the councillors the outside area is currently not included for the license purposes. So any noise complaints from the outside area would not necessarily result in a review because it does not fall within the licensed premises. the councillors may wish to consider that, and they may decide that they want to extend that outside area to be included within the licence. And if you have any comments on that.
And we can take care of that in the deliberations.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's going to be rather a short meeting in a sense, because there are no objectors to take into consideration, other than a public statement from me for those who are listening, and that those objections have been received, the contents of their letters have been noted, and we will be discussing it during our deliberations as part of do we accept or do we reject the application. I don't think there's any need to go into any further deliberations other than our private deliberations to decide whether or not we're going to approve this licence application. So can we move into that and ask everybody else to leave the room? We can switch off the YouTube.